the velvet sledgehammer, but you can't, that's called results. And that doesn't serve anyone. That's the worst example is when someone is like bully because they're supposed to be like, that's not really what it's about. That's the obstacles are what it's about. I would ask you, what are the situation that I can what is the situation of that scene? What are the obstacles? These are in life. We have to solve problems. It's not about getting someone to get emotional. Which, by the way, is a big misunderstanding. The actor's job is to make the audience not feel himself. He's too busy solving the problem that the character has. I find that a lot of young actors think if they get emotional, they're really acting. I'm sorry to dissuade you from the ugly truth, which is, it has very little to do with emotions. It has to do with creating a character and overcoming the obstacles and engaging in the conflict with which that character is involved in any way. But we'll get to more of that.
STEPHAN,
yes.
Regarding the state of the theater.
Yes.
It applies to the state of acting. I mean, in every aspect of the theater, that it's all geared toward success, commercial success. And that comes from the use of vaudeville and what we call haze, much to the detriment of the actor. And then the process becoming like a laser, okay, in a direction of being seen, getting an agent. It's all
Careerism.
Careerism and result orientation. So from the designer's point of view, and the use of instruments that are unhealthy for the actor, when the intention is commercial success, and the process, the artistic process, which should really involve taking chances, that creates goosebumps in an audience. And because they know when something is happening on stage which requires guts, and guts can manifest itself in a most subtle behavior, because that's also a very brave thing to do under certain circumstances. But when you are trying very hard to satisfy the common denominator and get that commercial success, and then the playwright, if the play is successful, gets scooped up by television, then we have writers who don't get to cut their teeth time after time in the theater. And the same goes for actors. But when you're in a play with someone who can't do it, first of all, what happened to the director and the casting process? All right. It is what it is. You try the best you can for an actor to tell another actor what to do, which I did, I must say, early on, actually for years. And then I was told by my coach, don't do that. Everything is worse for the middle. If a person sucks, use it. It is what it is. That sounds very glib, but if you go with just what is now, as far as directing is concerned, that's my sister.
Oh, good.
What I'm saying is, it's all an artistic wasteland to one degree or another.
Well, that's why, I would like to think that some of us still want to fight the good fight. And that's what Marilyn is addressing, which is to say commercialism has taken over. Broadway looks like Las Vegas entertainment on stage. Even the serious plays, quote unquote, are kind of, there's something in it. Maury Shiskel playwright that I working with, thinks that it's true that in the 40s there was a homegrown audience in New York that would constantly go to the theater, and there was a level of sophistication, of appreciation that existed, that no longer exists because the tourist industry is really co-opted Broadway. It's all these people thinking in terms of numbers. I mean, it just wasn't that way. I'm here to tell you, and I've only read about it, but if you could imagine 40 straight plays, dramas, comedies on Broadway at the same time in the 30s and into the 40s. And of course, television, everything in our modern existence is competing and sucking the focus out of theater. So, I just, you can always say, you try to do what you can do, and I still think, what happened, personally speaking, when you experience one of those great moments of theater, either a great play or a great group of people, it has a peak, and it has to last you through all the time of the valleys between. And my experience has been, every now and then there's this great peak of experience. Some people know about it, other people never heard of it, but a lot of people see, some do, some don't. You have to, you can't think about how many people see it. If 3 people see it, if 6 people see it, so be it. But those 6 people will have experienced something that's very powerful. And so hopefully that continues, like the monks in the Middle Ages, illuminating manuscripts one by one, classics. That's sometimes how it feels. And I would say that a life in the theater these days, if you really want to do theater. And I don't, everybody wants to make a living. TV is a food source. I don't see theater as a food source. When you're paid to do theater, usually it's something very commercial. My experience has been when I get an idea, I want to do something, a play speaks to me. It's something that's personal, and the director, it's his vision, and it's either going to sink or swim on the validity of that vision, but it's not by committee. I think that's a valid thing to pursue. But a life in the theater, in order to do that, is like being a monk without a monastery. It's a calling at this point. Just like Marilyn was saying, commercial theater has pretty much steamrolled everything in its path, and so far as serious plays go, or the great plays. I worked on a lot of new plays, and then suddenly the next big thing no longer interested me, and I was suddenly passionate for the great American classics, because they give you so much back in the work of, because they're great writing. And I'm sure you've heard this, but you turn a corner, and suddenly you have an appreciation, even though these people lived in another time with different values. It suddenly makes sense because it's such powerfully crafted, powerfully emotive experience. There's catharsis in the great dramas that nothing can touch. Now, let's go to, by the way, we have Harold Clurman, we have Kazan, we have Orson Welles. When you read about, and you should also read about these guys. Kazan has been, criticized profoundly by many people because he cooperated with the McCarthy Committee. But in my experience, oddly enough, a lot of people has. I was a young theater artist, and I wrote a letter to him. I'd been turned down to get into the playwright directing unit in the actor's studio. I wrote a letter to him. I described some of the projects that I'd been engaged with. I wasn't such a beginner, really. I mean, Dance from the City was written by Joseph Mahar, who was an actor, and he was given a half-page spread by Walter Kerr in the New York Times. So I had done some things, but I did not have the experience that most of the directors, these tour directors in the playwright directing unit the actor's studio had, and I was turned down. Well, I wrote to him directly, and God bless him, he gave this young guy a shot. One of the few times in my life, where a door opened, which is highly unlikely in this day and age. I'm going to divert for a second to this famous story. When I worked with him for 3 years on Intimidation with his backing because he liked what I did in his play. And this is at the end of his life.